I've seen a lot of companies, especially in the healthcare world, it's the next shiny thing, right? There's always the next shiny thing. And so you've got to be really careful about chasing things that don't align with what your core business philosophy is. And if my core business model is early detection preventative imaging, then I've got to make sure that the technology I'm using, the advancements we're coming up with, the things that we consider align with that core model, or we can get ourselves in trouble really quick. If I can get to you as quick as possible and give you access, and I continue to grow and develop and bring on technology that aligns with that access, then we've got a home run.
Welcome, MedTech Gurus. Today, as I mentioned in the introduction, we have a fantastic guest with us. Mike Wernli, Chief Operating Officer of Kraft Health, joins us to explore the intersection of innovation, operations, and purpose-driven leadership in modern healthcare. Mike is a primary innovator and operational driver behind Kraft Health's fast-growing clinic model. His latest initiative, a deep learning power whole body MRI scan, is turning heads for its ability to deliver hospital-grade diagnostics in just 30 minutes without radiation, contrast, or a referral. But that's only part of the story. Mike brings a rare mix of strategic marketing, insight, operational discipline, and a personal mission rooted in teaching, leadership, and growth. With a deep sense of organization and creativity, he's been building clinical brands that prioritize access, patient-first care, and meaningful engagement. Hey, Mike, are you ready to be our guru today?
100%. And that made me sound really good, Tom. I like that.
Well, yeah, for sure. Well, we're excited to have you. So tell us a little something fun or interesting about yourself or your family so we can get to know you better.
Yeah, so a couple of things come to mind. So family for me is, they're my everything. So top priority. We travel the country with sports, and I don't miss anything. And I've made it a point in my entire career to say, I will be at every single event you have. Anything that makes sense for me to be there, I'm there. And so a couple of cool things, and I don't really talk about this much outside of my normal circles, but my kids are pretty good at basketball. So I've got my older daughter who's now, she'll be a junior in college. So she plays Division I basketball. She holds the record in her 6A high school for leading scorer of all time. My middle daughter is right on her heels, so she's committed to play Division I basketball. She'll probably beat her in her record in high school. She just finished playing on the top circuit in the country out of Chicago for her summer ball career, and she ended that there. So that was a fun experience. I get to sit on the sidelines and just take all that in. And then I've got a younger son we'll see what he does. He's super charming. Overly confident, and so maybe unjustifiable at times, but that charm and confidence will take you a lot of places. So yeah. I love my family. I mean, they're everything to me, and those kiddos, they keep me going, and they give me something to work for and live for. I'll also tell you, I've been on a lot of media platforms. So I've done TV, radio, print. I've even preached the gospel in but the majority of prisons across Oklahoma, which is kind of a crazy deal. But this is my first podcast, so I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. And I have to ask about the basketball real quick because I've got a son who's a D3 basketball coach right now. So I understand the basketball journey and what's involved in all of that. So it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of dedication, that's for sure.
Yeah, people don't see what happens on the backside. They just see that front side. So it's been fun, but there's been a lot of sweat and blood and tears and broken things. I think that we should have a punch card at the orthopedist because we seem to see that guy on a regular basis. Yeah. Right, it's like come 5 times, get your 6th free type of deal.
Right. Yeah.
We should have one of those.
Yeah, for sure. So, Mike, first of all, I wanted to just dive in with, some of your passion for innovation and, wondering what sparked some of that, passion for innovation and operations in healthcare and how that involved into your current role at Kraft Health. Can you give us some insights there?
Yeah, so I've been in the healthcare world now for 15 plus years. I was actually on the insurance side of things in my previous career and really got to see the inner workings of that world and how they dictate a lot of things, and a lot of things are more difficult in how they flow through that insurance process. Absolutely necessary and needed, but just got to see those workings. I was approached to lead a multi-site primary care clinic where we saw 70,000 patient visits a year. And what I took from that, and in the moment, Tom, like a lot of things, you may not realize what you're learning and what you're gaining until you've moved on and left that. But as I look back, what I really appreciated for my time in the primary care world was that the owners of that were very functional minded. And so it was very much of a root cause attempt in an insurance world. Mm-hmm. And so it was, a lot of times the docs are limited to what they can do and how they can do it and what they can talk about. But there it was very much, how can we solve the problem? How can we get to the actual cause of a health condition that you're suffering through? And so I think that mindset of that root cause, functional minded medicine really led me on my journey career wise to think through, what can we do that allows people the opportunity to get ahead of the symptoms and get ahead of the problems before they become a problem. And so then as I continue my journey on into some different opportunities, endeavors through there, I was then approached through Craft Health back in 2018. And when I learned of the model and what they were doing and how they were doing it, it just resonated with me. So if you think through cancer and disease and those types of things, we tend to wait. I've had friends and family, I'm sure you have too, that you get diagnosed in a later stage and it's a fight. And many times it's a fight for life. And and it's a fight some folks win, and it's a fight that some folks lose. But we don't really hear a lot of folks that are finding things early and creating the fight much easier. And so when I learned that there was an opportunity and a way to find those things early on, to fight them easier, fix them better with better outcomes, it just resonated. And so, from that point on in 2018 to today, it's how can we take that model, that concept, that ideology, and enhance it and make it better and bring it to the masses, has really been it's been the tip of that spear that we're driving forward to make that happen.
Yeah, that's awesome, and it leads me into kind of my next question, because as I was doing my research, you describe yourself as a primary innovator and driver of clinic operations, right? Which is really interesting. But to help our gurus out there, because we're all interested in innovation in that process, what are the foundational principles that you apply when launching and scaling some of these new care models? Can you provide us some insights there?
Yeah, so I know. And you really, when you talk about clinical operations too, people are important. So we can have all the best ideas, and we can implement new technology, and we can drive new services, but you've got to have the right people on board to deliver. And I will tell you, our culture matters. We've been very intentional with our core values. We're very intentional with who we bring onto the team. We're very purpose driven we are shoulder to shoulder, same path, same pace, headed to the same place. And so if you think about healthcare in general, many times if you show up to receive that care, you could have a fantastic medical delivery, meaning the doc is top notch, the service is top notch, but your experience as you go through, it may be mediocre. You could show up, and in that moment, Tom, if you're going to leave and think, I don't know, maybe that was fine, I don't know, do you talk about it? The flip side of that, you show up and have a tremendous experience and mediocre healthcare, you'll go rave about it and keep coming back. Mm-hmm. And so our goal and our mission and purpose is to have excellent service combined with excellent healthcare that keeps people wanting and desiring more. And so it starts with the people. You've got to have the right people on board, the right thinkers, the right service delivery folks. And then from there, you can really look to see, okay, what's next? What's on the horizon? What's coming? What is the consumer, the patient asking us for, either with their words or just with their behaviors, that puts us in a position to then put them in the next better spot as they move forward in their life with their family. So the folks you've got on the team matter, and the folks that you're serving matter. And I think when you've got a people oriented, a people centered philosophy, and you understand that the people matter, then you put yourself in their shoes and think, how do I want to receive this? How do I want to deliver this? How do I want to work in this scenario day after day? Then you're in a much better position to create the deliverables and the technology and the services that really drive people forward in life.
Yeah, that's helpful. And I wanted to zero in on something you mentioned in terms of the people and the team that's delivering this care. Do you have any best practices in keeping them engaged, right? Because, you get into a company and you're great, you're all rah-rah, and then it kind of drifts off into, okay, it's my one everyday sort of thing. How do you keep that passion going across the team?
Yeah, so several things. I do believe that that core values matter,
Mm-hmm.
and we hear a lot about that. There's a lot of companies that post it on the wall, and it's just kind of the thing. We were very, very intentional in building ours, and we're very intentional in promoting and celebrating and driving those. And so, the way we hire, the way we manage, the way we lead, all that's there. We have a monthly core value spotlight, and we actually have a QR code leading to a back end where colleagues can tattletale on each other, and so they catch a colleague matching that core value, doing something good, and then go tell on. And we're in 7 different markets currently across 6 different states, and so we do a regular call where we're combining everyone on that call. We have Teams chats and what have you, where people are constantly talking back and forth, very supportive. We celebrate a lot, so we celebrate anniversaries and birth dates and have a lot of fun doing that. Every couple of months, we actually close the clinic. Everyone stays paid, and we do anything from community service to an event. So we've thrown axes and made candles and all points in between, or just have a social hour. So we're engaging outside of work. And I believe when you get to know each other outside of work, it makes working together inside of work that much better. So we've done a very, very good job of hiring the right people and then building that team that has tremendous camaraderie.
Yeah.
And so I don't call it a family, right? I mean, in a family, you have to put up with each other. I mean, there's stuff that goes on and you can't really break away. But on a team, you've got different personalities. You have to work together well. Sometimes there's people that don't fit the team and they need to find a different team. And sometimes, you've got your roles, and if your son's coaching basketball and my kiddos are playing it, there's roles that you play. And so putting the right people in the right seats is imperative. Celebrating, we've got work to do. Everybody understands that we've got work. We also have a lot of fun along the way. And I've always said, man, if I'm going to leave my house for 8 to 10 hours a day, I want to enjoy what I'm doing. I should look forward to coming to that. So building that camaraderie has been important. I would also say from a leadership standpoint, understanding the role there is imperative. And I would say that, I don't, again, it's shoulder to shoulder. Our leadership team, yes, we have titles. I think that's, you have to have them to some extent, but, no one walks around here thinking, well, I'm the big boss, or, we're not projecting that. I mean, we are with the people in the trenches doing the dirty work. And so I believe that there's leadership from the front, meaning I'm driving this thing forward. We're taking this to the next level. If I'm asking you to do it, I need to be willing to do it. And so I learn it. I know how to fill in all the spots. Everyone understands that and they see that. So that front leadership is very important that people are seeing that one. I also believe that leadership from the back is important.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen and I've some really cool stories about wolf packs and how they work. And a lot of times the wolf at the back, that's as they trek through, is one of the stronger, more intuitive, better prepared wolves. And he's got his eyes on everything. He sees to the right, to the left, forward. He sees the attack coming from the front, and he's prepared to receive the attack from the back. And so I believe that that outward, there's a place to lead from the front, there's a place to lead from the back, and all of that is servant driven. And so when the people see that and feel that, and there's a sincerity to that, they want to strive for more. And then when they see what we do and how we do it and the lives that we touch, it really helps them understand the job that they're doing impacts other people. And it's important to tell those stories too. So, yeah.
That's helpful. And I'm going to get into craft health in a minute, but I want to stick with this leadership theme for just a moment, because I think this is a really good conversation, really so good best practices here. And you've mentioned having this gift for leadership, and I can see it coming through in what we just discussed, in the heart for teaching. So let's peel into that a little bit further. How do those qualities show up when you mentor teams or communicate across the organization? Do you have a couple of examples for us, or what are your best practices to pull that forward and pull that out of people?
Yeah. Well, I would tell you, first of all, I have to be very intentional. And so I believe I have some innate gifts, yes, but I also have to feed those gifts. I mean, that's one of those. I've heard an analogy at one point, if you take a milk jug, you put a little soap in that milk jug and you pour some water in there and shake it up, you pour it out, you're pouring out that soapy water, but there's still soap. And the only way to get that is to put that jug under the water spigot and let the water flow in. And eventually all the soap and the dirtiness flows out over the top, and you've got the pure water inside, right? And so first of all, I think personally, from a leadership standpoint, you have to ensure that you're filling yourself with the right information, that you're receiving positive feedback, that you're receiving positive information, whether it's what you listen to, what you read, what you're paying attention to. You've got to, whatever you're taking into yourself is going to outflow. And so it's important that leaders ensure that they're receiving positive so that they can project and put out positive. I think it's incredibly important. I think a big thing for me and a big thing here is I don't take myself too seriously. It's, and I'm really, I try to find connection points with the people that I work with. And so again, there's a difference in a leader and a manager, and I learned a long, long time ago, you manage things and you lead people. And so creating that balance of connecting with folks in the right way, understanding, getting to know them to a point where some of those buttons, some of the things that really drive them. And as we've grown, that's become more and more and more difficult. So I have to be very intentional with reaching out and staying abreast with folks, having those touch points, just connecting, just walking amongst the crew, and and creating some of that small talk, and then really driving that down through some of the different supervisors and managers throughout the organization. So you've got to be intentional with feeding yourself. You've got to be intentional with them projecting to the folks. You've got to pull yourself away from some of those tasks that you have that can keep you going all day long, every day. And then I believe and I've created specific, I guess, touch points and different meetings for the front desk folks, and then the ops people, and then some of those folks who may not get heard a lot of the time, just to give a platform for them to voice it, because they're the frontline folks. They're the folks that are, from our front desk to our back office to our imaging techs. They're the people that are interacting with the patient and with the consumer daily. And I want to hear from them, and I want them to hear from me to say, all right, what are we doing to help keep folks engaged and people at work engaged? So you've got to make sure you're pouring the right things into you so that it outflows to there. And then you need to be intentional in making those touch points. And I don't know, from there, we can get caught up on a lot of complicated leadership stuff, but Tom, at the end of the day, it's simple. I mean, it's people. People want to feel recognized. They want to feel affirmed. I just listened to a podcast a couple days ago, and I'm kind of getting into this podcast deal. And the podcast was on encouragement. And I thought, we're really quick to criticize. We're really quick to pick on people for things. I've been a coach, a youth coach. I've taught in the classroom. I've done some stuff, and we're really quick to find the things that fall, especially now. Gosh, so much comes at us that's negative. But man, when we can find those points within people that, that we admire, and then point that out in a positive way, and really encouragement just means to fill you with courage. And so when I can come to you and it doesn't even have to be anything extreme. It's just constantly looking for ways to acknowledge a person, fill them with courage, encourage them in life in ways that light them up, that don't even have anything to do with work, and then they're ready to go to battle for you.
Yeah.
So you've got to be intentional with that.
Yeah, that's very helpful, and thank you for that. And I was listening to that and thinking, we often think of innovation as like this big giant aha moment, right?
Right.
But
Right.
I'm also thinking, listening to you and that communication style that you and your team are employing, I'm thinking you probably find a lot of innovation just in operations on ways that would you can do things better, manage patient throughput better, get a better patient outcome. Is that what you're finding?
100%. And I don't have all the answers,
Hmm.
and I'm not on the front line.
Hmm.
And so when I receive the feedback, and we've got an open line of communication with the people that are doing the work every single day, and I'm able to hear from them to go, yeah, these are the struggles we're having through the system. This is the struggles we have through the delivery. There, there's always opportunities to learn and then to tweak and to think, if I'm sitting in the admin side, on the leadership side of things, I'm thinking, okay, this is what works. But I will tell you, I've always in my career had the end user in mind.
Hmm.
And so, we may as a leadership team develop a certain product or a service or a deliverable that we want to implement and go forward with. But ultimately, I've got to go to the team to say, okay, guys, where do you see the holes, and where do you see maybe some of the issues? How do you use the system daily, that when we put this into play, what potential challenges are you going to face? Why do you do it this way? How do you do it that way? And so receiving that feedback in those loops from the people that are doing the job day in and day out is critical, so that you create those efficiencies and you create the effectiveness in whatever next thing that you're going to implement, for sure.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're just going to cause frustration.
Right.
And
Right.
if you're not receiving that feedback as you go, you're going to cause frustration. So I've always been a very much of a real-time communication, instant feedback. Give it to me. I may not like it. I may not agree with you. It may have to be done this way.
Hmm.
But if I'm receptive to that, hearing that, then I think we better ourselves and better the service delivery ongoing, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for that. It's very helpful. And Mike, shifting now a little bit to Craft Health. If I've got this right, recently your team launched an AI-powered whole body MRI, and I'm just kind of curious, from a strategic marketing standpoint, how did you approach building awareness and trust in a brand new service category like this?
Yeah, that gets tough. And I will tell you, so to give context to what that is,
Hmm.
so a whole body MRI in general is brain all the way down. And so, and what we're really looking at is the organs, soft tissue, bones. We're not looking at your elbow. We're not looking at your shoulder to see, do you have, some past athletic issue that you need to get resolved. It's really looking for those anatomical abnormalities that may become problematic in the near future or in the long run. So, it's looking for those things that early on to ensure that you're in a position to take care of that early. And so typically to do that, a standard MRI, the way that's produced is the radiologist has certain protocols they want built. There's certain images, there's certain angles, there's certain number of slices that they want to see. And so many times, depending on, if you do one MRI, it might take you 20, 25 minutes. So if you're doing an MRI of the chest, and so when you do a whole body, that thing can get lengthy. And so depending on the protocols of what the radiologist wants to see, those things can turn into an hour to an hour and a half. And so our process there was to say, how can we speed this up? How can we, and you're on that table and you're in that tube, and that can be an uncomfortable position for a person. And so, what can we do to speed that up? Now, you can shorten the protocols, but typically when you shorten those protocols, it creates what they call noise in the imaging. And so then the radiologist has a more difficult time seeing what he needs to see to give his final report. And so with the AI technology, what we've been able to do is the AI actually likes the noise. And so we take those protocols, we turn them down, we reduce the time that the person's on the table, and the AI technology then, so that creates that noise. That AI technology goes in and says, this is great. let's clean up the noise. Let's take away some of the fuzziness, and let's clean up some of that, the less the lack of clarity in some of those images. And so it cleans that noise up and actually produces many times better images than what we would have done on our original protocol. And so we're able to take that hour to an hour and a half MRI now, reduce that by up to 50%. So now you're on that table from an hour down to 30, 40 minutes. And now not only get the same clarity, but to get better clarity so that radiologist can read that. So now it's a better overall patient experience. It's a better image that the radiologist is going to receive. And it's a win-win for all. And so as you're looking through that and seeing that, now it's like, okay, how do we make people aware? And Tom, I'll tell you, the most difficult part is, I think the majority of folks know what an MRI is. They know what a CT is. They know what the imaging modalities are. What they don't know is when they can have access to those. Because if you're like me, all I've ever known is I've got to feel bad to show up to the doctor to get the order to get imaging, right? And so that's what we know. And so our biggest competitor is mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Our biggest challenge out there is mindset, because nobody's driving around saying, "Hey, you know what, babe? Let's go check out those whole body MRIs out there today." And so really creating that awareness that it's available when you want it, not just when you need it. And so really creating that I guess, that flipped switch that goes, you know what, the way we've been trained and conditioned by traditional healthcare, we've got to make a shift. Now, what's been helpful is a lot of podcasts like yourself, a lot of guys out on social media now are really starting to come into line with taking care of you, you being responsible for your own healthcare. And so that shift is starting to occur. But man, it's a challenge to really get people to move away from the way they've been conditioned to now start thinking about, how can I use, and actually, Tom, how can I use technology that's been around for 50 years?
Mm-hmm.
Right? MRI's been around since 1980.
Yeah.
CT's been around since 1970. So how can I start to use some of this technology from the past in a more proactive and preventative way? And so it really becomes telling that story through the podcast, telling that story through written media, through radio, through TV, and creating that mind shift with people. I think once the mind shift has happened, the action then follows. That aha moment happens, and now they're in a better position to do something.
Yeah, let's dive into that just a little further, because this is really interesting. So, I mean, you've got this great service, right? You're doing all of this. What have you done? What has your team done to start to position this, at that intersection of, clinical grade care, but also consumer access? Let's expand on that a little bit. How are you getting that word out there beyond, like podcasts? What else are you finding that's working?
So first of all, we have to have the clinical care. So that's, you've got to have the foundation to deliver the thing that you're going to go talk about. And so with what we've created, it is a full circle. Now we don't diagnose, we don't treat. That's left to their primary care doctor, specialist, what happens beyond there. But we do have the full team. So when they receive that imaging, it's done by a certified technician. It's read by a board certified radiologist. We have a medical team on staff to help those folks who have findings understand, what does it mean? What are the next steps? Really just, what's that flow look like from there? So we've ensured that we have the full circle in place to ensure that people get what they need, and that they're then positioned to then go forward with their doctor or their specialist. They're not just left hanging. And then we've kept the technology up to ensure that we stay up with the times. And a lot of times that may be the equipment or the software or whatever it is, to ensure that we're up to speed. So you've got to have foundationally the deliverable. And we're very intentional with our deliverable. How do we get the word out? That's a great question. And really, that's a great question, because there's so many different angles to promoting that, and the hard part nowadays, there's so much noise. I mean, if you think about just driving in a 20-minute stretch around, you're being hit with billboards, and you're being hit with radio ads, and you're being hit with moving vehicles with advertisements on it. And, and I've told people, not too long ago, We our information came at 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. and in the newspaper. And, it was so limited in what we were receiving, and it was delayed in how we're receiving it. And we didn't carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. And now with these little handheld computers that everybody has and takes with us, it's instant information, it's social media. Our brain is on overload with what it's taking in. And so, we have to be very intentional about really tricking the brain to get people to pay attention. We do a lot of in-person events, so we'll do trade shows. Some of the craziest thing is we're at home and garden shows, and we're at boat shows, and we're a place where the demographic of people that we serve are showing up. And when I could stop you in person and have a conversation with you briefly, that light bulb goes off many times much easier than trying to battle all the noise that you're hearing on some of these other stages. And so, and I also talk about there's a call to action type of awareness, and then there's top of mind awareness. If I'm a plumber, I want top of mind. And so, meaning you don't need a plumber today, you don't need a plumber tomorrow, you don't need a plumber next week. But when you need a plumber, I want you to think about me. And so I've got to be all places all the time, right? This call to action for what we really do in the medical world is you need me now. And so I need wherever I'm doing and whatever I'm doing to help you understand that quickly and to take action now, because time is of the essence when it comes to your health. And so in-person events have worked well for us. Um, Really what happens, so if we do some things that are live on TV, we've done some morning shows, local stuff, to where we're engaging with the host and really getting that listener, that viewer, or to pay attention in that moment, to then have that mind shift to take that action. And so we have to get real creative to break through the noise on social media. It's that I need you to stop, pay attention, and now listen for 30 seconds. And once you've done that, you're going to want to learn more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes that's done with some mistake stuff. I've even thought, because our brain it gets so accustomed to this one type of marketing, and our brain actually tunes it out, and it's normal.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe there's times when you can create mistakes in your marketing, intentional mistakes, that it makes the brain go, hang on, I'm not used to seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I need to pay attention to that one. And I've got you at least for a moment to catch you and lead you down the path to learn more. So you got to get real creative to break the noise nowadays.
Yeah, that's helpful. But with this, I'm also thinking, there's some concerns out there, with artificial intelligence and machine learning about data security, right? And
Sure.
I would think that's critical when you're using AI and diagnostics like you and your team are doing. What are you thinking about with protecting both the technology and the trust you're building with patients? What sorts of back-end, support and guarantees do you have in place that you can translate to the patients that you're serving?
Yeah, so let's talk patient first. So everything that we do now is really driven with numbers, and so not a whole. Yes, we have EMR, and actually, Tom, we're developing our own EMR, and so it blows my mind that in 2025. It's been difficult to find a true EMR that does everything that you want it to do. There's some that are really great at this and others that are really great at that. And we've noticed that there hasn't been a lot that covers the both. And so we have been now for the past couple of years developing our own EMR platform that serves our needs. And then at some point we'll offer that to the medical community to say, hey, we think we've got something that will fit your needs as well. And so as we build and develop that, then security of patient information has been top of mind through that entire process. A lot of what you are able to do now is number driven versus name driven. And so, yes, we've got an EMR with a name, but if you've got a number associated, now it's that number that tracks through the entire process, not the name. And so, if within the radiology world, you tend to take those studies, they go into a PAC system. That PAC system then is where the radiologist pulls that and reads that. And so many times the radiologist doesn't even know a name. They know a number, and the AI has no idea. And so we just know it's in the PACs. They're taking it from there. They're applying that, a software is applied, and then it's number that correlates back to the EMR chart that says, yes, this number associates with this person, and that's the only place that contact type information lives. And so So very imperative for us to protect the patient information. And with technologies that's advanced over the years, that's gotten easier and easier to do. And then when we're developing our own, we can create it in a way that we want to ensure that that safety is even a higher priority. The technology, I mean, again, we're using MRI, we're using CT, we're using ultrasound. This stuff's been around, right? You're going to get the images. And then some of the technology that you're able to apply, I will tell you, it gets tough because, first of all, there's technology. I'd heard something the other day as we're thinking about AI. The learning curve with AI is exponential as it goes year over year. It's tenfold to 100-fold to 1,000-fold. And so as it starts to learn, it doesn't just get a little smarter. We're not going through first and second and third grade here. I mean, you're taking a first grader and jumping them to quantum physics at the PhD level, right? In a 6-month period is how fast this stuff is ramping. And so, it's one, you've got to really work your way through to understand what's valid, what's legit, what really applies to what we do. And then at the end of the day, I mean, even if other entities had used the same AI, if we're benefiting the patient, I think there's plenty of space in the world for there to be other guys doing what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that, if we're trying to say, hey, let's take this and we're the only ones who get to have it and are only ones who get to use it, we're not doing patients a service in other parts of the country where we're not.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's ways that we protect what we do and how we do it so that, obviously we have business sustainability, but then why not share? If our motto is do no harm and our philosophy is to restore health and save lives at Craft Health, well, if someone else can help us do that on a larger scale, let's do that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of folks around that need access to it. And if we can help more people get access to it, let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So I guess the bottom line here is really how are the patients responding and has it changed their perception of, proactive care?
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely, 100%. Once they understand it, once again, you've got that mind shift, that's really where that the patient then understands, I have to take control. I heard something recently. It said, there's one person you're guaranteed to live with for the rest of your life, and that's you. And so, and we're becoming more and more aware of this health span idea, right? We talk about lifespan. We've heard that term forever, but this health span concept has really become more popular and ingrained with people. And my thought is, and I've had a mantra for a long time: just be present. I want to be present for my family. I want to be present for my friends. I want to be present for my colleagues. There's a lot of life to live, a lot of experiences to have, a lot of memories to create. And so whether I die at 65 or whether I die at 165, I want to feel good getting there.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that everybody, on the planet would think the same way. Now that gets tough with some of the lifestyle choices and the things we're bombarded with and the choices that we have and how we treat our bodies and treat our health. But, I believe everybody at the end of the day wants to be present for the people that they love for as long as possible, feeling as well as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so the hard part is most folks just don't know that there's an answer to that. And one time it may be, you may think you're doing all the right things, but the only really way to know is to look. You've got to be able to look inside to see if what you're doing is working. You may realize you do a lot of things wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to know is to look inside and see if what you're doing wrong and how that's impacting you. And so when people become aware of the opportunity to actually see what's happening inside of them, what their lifestyle choices are doing to them, their genetics are doing, randomness is doing, because again, some of this stuff, we don't know where it comes from, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when they have that aha moment of, oh, I can use medical technology to actually see things in advance so that I don't have to wind up like the neighbor down the street that's battling stage 4. When you know that you can take advantage of that type of technology on your own terms, then they're all in. They're all in for it. I mean, no one looks at what we do and says, hey, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'm not in for that. But That's where we have to reverse that training and reverse that conditioning. And that's a very challenging thing to do.
Yeah, for sure. So, Mike, this seems like a really exciting time for you and your team at Craft Health. What does the future hold? Where are you going from here?
Yeah. So we're trying to get this technology the way we use it to as many people as we can, as fast as we can. So I mentioned we have 7 locations now. We're in the process of opening our 8th. And so, it's trying to get those strategically placed throughout the country to allow folks to know that it's here and what we're doing and how we're doing it. And Tom, there's other folks out there doing some things similar. I do believe what separates us is, some of those others, I believe you hear companies they sell a product or they have a service, and really what they are is a marketing company with a deliverable. Um, and yes, you have to market, and yes, you have to get the word out that you're there doing what you're doing. I believe what really separates us is we are patient centered, patient focused, care centered, deliverable focused, and then marketing has to get the word out that we're doing that. And so, as we think through where we're going throughout the country, we look for places to go. Okay, where is it progressive? Where are people open to this idea? What's more of maybe a concentric area where we're in a metro type place, but folks have access within a couple hours. That's easy. And so really accessibility is the key for us. So if I can position a place that's accessible, now you can come to me and have access to the technology. And so one is getting this to as many people as possible, as fast as possible. Our goal is to open 2 to 3 a year. And then from there, it's always staying abreast of what makes our service deliverables better, what makes the patient experience more comfortable, more excellent. What can we add? But we also have to keep in mind it has to be synergistic with what we do. I've seen a lot of companies, especially in the healthcare world, it's the next shiny thing, right? There's always the next shiny thing. And so you've got to be really careful about chasing things that don't align with what your core business philosophy is. And if my core business model is early detection preventative imaging, then I've got to make sure that the technology I'm using, the advancements we're coming up with, the things that we consider align with that core model, or we can get ourselves in trouble really quick. So if I can get to you as quick as possible and give you access, and I continue to grow and develop and bring on technology that aligns with that access, then we've got a home run.
Yeah, that is exciting, and I'll be watching. And that it sounds like a great time for you and your team. So, Mike, first of all, I'd like to just thank and acknowledge you for the time and information that you shared with us today. If somebody wants to learn more, is there a website? Are you on LinkedIn? How do we learn more about you and Craft Health?
Yeah, there's a little bit of funniness to that. Yes, there's LinkedIn. I'm horrible about LinkedIn. I think, gosh, again, to this little computer thing we carry around, there's so many of these options out there with the information. I've got to keep up with this, keep up with that, keep up with that. Website's going to be the best. So check out crafthealth.com is a great place to start, and you'll see some different entities there. So you've got Craft Body Scan, Craft Concierge, and a few others. Craft Body Scan would be one as far as the proactive imaging. So craftbodyscan.com is a great place to really delve into the MRI and the CT and what we're doing with proactive imaging. But crafthealth.com or craftbodyscan.com will get you the information you need to direct you where you want. And if someone wants to reach out to me directly, it's just Mike, Mike, at crafthealth.com. And that's craft with a C. So Mike at crafthealth.com. And I'm happy to engage with anyone at any level, anytime. Again, I love one of the things that I'm really passionate about is seeing other people succeed and launching other people and seeing them do tremendous things with their life. And if I had just a little bit of piece of that to go, man, that's fun to see people take something that they like or take something they're interested in and just go do phenomenal things with it. And so I'm more than happy to be a part of that if anybody desires.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, Mike, once again, thank you so much for the insights and being our guru today.
All right. Thanks for having me, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to MedTech Gurus. I am Sylvester Harris, your MC. If you want to learn more about Tom and his consulting services, you can go to www.pctmedical.com or email Tom at tom@pctmedical.com. Now, I can be reached at Sylvester Harris, that's SylvesterHarris 5048@gmail.com, and I'd be pleased to discuss any voiceover work that you may want for your company or broadcast. Hey, thanks so much for listening, and catch us on the next episode of MedTech Gurus.